I consider myself as the protector of the project until we get to a point where it becomes a DAO and all of the decisions are being made by all the
Mhm.
shareholders. Yeah, there's definitely been a lot of challenges, a lot to learn from these challenges for sure. There have been like some pretty big like events. Like we did get exploited back in March, which was very eye-opening to us. It was like probably my worst nightmare come true.
Welcome back to the second part of our podcast with Ben. If you just joined us, make sure you listen to the first part of our podcast on your streaming platform where you can also follow us, rate our show if you like the field talks. It really helps us to grow. Without further ado, let's get back to the episode.
Like I've been in the space a long time and you hear about these exploits all the time. And being somebody who's building this project or building in DeFi in general, I know that there is a potential for this to happen. And the nightmare comes from people putting their trust in me to protect their money and keep it safe. And then all of a sudden that money is stolen. A lot of times you don't really know, okay, was this an inside job or did they do this on purpose? Or are they the ones, is the team the ones stealing the money, or was this like a legitimate hack? So I've seen other projects who weren't able to come out of this or come out of an event like that. And to me, it's not really the focus that or what makes it a nightmare is that I won't be able to recover from it, but it's that all of these people just lost so much money and I'm here trying to build something to protect their money. But unfortunately, it's just like something that I know that is a potential in the crypto space. Even if we get as many audits and spend as much money on audits as we possibly can, there's always that risk. And so with security being as important as it is, like I'm always just like super meticulous trying to like make sure, okay, how can I break this? How can I break this? And that's another thing that comes from video game design is when you're building a video game, there's bugs everywhere and there's so many things that can go wrong. And it's different when I'm playing a video game that I made, trying to test and break things compared to somebody else who doesn't know how to play. They're going to be interacting with the game in different ways, right? So as a developer, you really have to think, okay, how is it that I can find a place where I can start thinking how somebody else would think when they're playing the game, make sure that I can find all these bugs. Thinking about the logic and the code and how can I break it, how can I exploit it is something that I'm constantly thinking about, and that's how my brain works. So we have been able to spot and fix on our own some very critical bugs. We even had hired a developer to work on a portion of our staking contracts. And so we contracted him. And when he submit the code, I noticed that he had put in some kind of malicious code. It seemed like that could potentially backdoor. So it's not only do you have to focus on the code that you're writing, but then, you have like other people working with you. And are they trying to like sneak something in there? And it's unfortunate, but
That's a lot of responsibilities.
yeah. Especially by putting your face on something, it's very tough.
That's true. But that's really inspiring because even before you launch the project and you get to the community, as you said, it was already discouraging to not have the VCs to support you anymore, but you still continues to bootstrap the project by your own.
Yeah.
My first question will be, what motivated you to still continue to put your own money into it? And when you launch the project and you see all these huge responsibilities that come to you, where do you take your strengths from?
Yeah. So originally, before I took over, I wasn't the one that was putting in my money, but we did have our previous CEO who was the one who was funding everything. And so when I took over, that became the new decision. I was going to be the one funding it from here on, right? So moving up until that point, the reason that I was willing and wanted to put my money in to help fund the rest of the project was because I saw the vision and I wanted to create something for the people, right? Something that could really change the way people are saving their money, the way that they're earning interest, the way that they're interacting with financial systems. And so for me, I see this as a form of activism, right? If I can get this product to essentially be as easy to invest in as like a savings account, then I know how beneficial this could be for just the everyday person who is earning less than 1% by having their money in a bank account. If we were to build an app that's connected like to somebody's bank account and they just see, oh, like they can join this savings account, but the savings account is like a smart vault that's delta neutral farming GLP, like they don't have to know all of that stuff, but all of a sudden they just open this app, boom, click the button, their money comes out of their bank account, goes into here, they understand the risk, they can read up on the information, they know they're going to be earning this much interest. To me, that's like what the real benefit of crypto is, and the real benefit of DeFi is we can remove the need for this middleman called the bank, who is making all of the money from these people by taking their money and lending it out and pouring it out and putting it into these strategies. So being able to offer this opportunity to the people is something that I'm very passionate about. And I've never been somebody who has really been driven by money. Like I was saying earlier, like I know when I'm living in alignment, money always comes to me, and I live a very minimalistic life that I can make $2,000 a month and be very happy and comfortable. And so I want to be giving back as much as I can. And I know that all the money that comes to me is money that I'm supposed to use to give back to people. I don't have a problem putting money in where it needs to go, as long as I know that money is going to, in some way, shape, or form, or not even just money, but putting time or some kind of energy into things that I know can like bear a good fruit for humanity to be able to benefit from. So that's what motivates me and what my passion is. And
it led me to the next question. I wanted to ask you, what was the mission then for TenderFi? But as you gave the example of the guy who is going to the vault from this banking app, I think that's a good example for it. But also, what's your vision as a blockchain activist for the cryptocurrency industry or Web3?
So as an activist, like the biggest problem that I see that it could solve is that it is a human rights issue, right? And if we were to go and look at, let's say, Nazi Germany, or a lot of places in history where this like mass genocide happened, or how like these dictators got into power or control, we see like a pattern of how the economy was up until then. Hyperinflation was what kind of was starting to kick in, and that's what kind of was the catalyst to all of these kind of like situations when it comes to genocide, war, and all these really awful things. And so when it gets to that point, the mindset people get to is, okay, like I'm literally willing to sell my soul for a piece of bread, right? Or for some food, or for a place to live. And so when it gets to that point, that's when these forces can really control people, but it's because it's like we have no way to survive without them now. And so they abuse that power. And so through building a sovereign financial system that protects the currency from inflation, I think is going to be critical for the evolution of humanity in the right direction, so that we can remove some of the power that these entities have over our energy. Because what really money is, it's energy. If I'm going to work, what I'm doing is I'm trading my time for some money, so that I can then trade that money for the things I need to live. Whereas back in the day, it was like, okay, if somebody needed something, I would go and do that thing. And then when I needed something, they would come and do it for me. We took care of each other, right? And so now we have a very advanced society, and we have all of these things that we want to do and buy and places we want to go. It's caused us to not be able to make these transactions directly. So we need a way to store this energy. And so that's the use of money. Now, when a government can print more money, what they're saying is, oh, we don't really care about your time. We can just make some more time out of thin air. And what happens when they make more money is they're essentially devaluing all of the time that we had already spent and put into money. But it's very clear, because if you look at the price of how much dollars it would have cost to buy like a gold ounce, the gold has become more and more expensive over the years, right? But if you look at like how many ounces of gold it would take to buy a house, that number hasn't changed very much. What's changed is how much it costs to buy the gold and how much it costs to buy the house. So it's clear that if I was saving my money in a bank, the bank's only paying me 1%, which should be like a good thing if you're trying to save money. You're actually losing money, and you're only losing money because the bank is deciding to print more and more. For blockchain, that's the problem that I see it solving. Among like many other problems, I think that is probably, from a human rights perspective, one of the most important. And so to me, if I can in any way contribute to that, that's where I want to put my efforts. And so I see myself as an activist first, and that's what motivates me and drives me to do the things I do and to build things I build. And for me to get involved in a project, I really need to see the vision of what they want to be creating for me to want to get involved in the first place.
There is a topic that everybody's talking about right now. It's AI. Do you use AI daily, or what do you think about it?
Yeah, I don't know if I would say daily. I do use it a lot. Right now I use it in any way that can make me more productive and help me with my day-to-day tasks, whether it's like Notion or ChatGPT for researching. I think AI is really powerful. Like, it's a really powerful tool. And what's interesting to me is that there's so much fear around it. And there's so much fear around essentially AI taking over and replacing our jobs and controlling us and all these other things. If you look at history, what's like an interesting observation is that whenever somebody or the people fear something so much, like that's essentially what they put their energy into, and that usually ends up becoming a reality and it becomes true, and people don't realize that their thoughts become reality. So in the AI space, what I am trying to do is I'm trying to be an activist of, okay, guys, let's shift this perspective, because AI can really be an amazing tool for us. If you talk to anybody on the planet and they say, what is like something that you wish you could change? Is, oh, I wish I didn't have to work 9 to 5 for a job that I don't enjoy. And like one of the biggest solutions or things that could fix that is AI. If AI replace all of our jobs, but then we can take the money that the AI is making and split it between those same people that their jobs are replaced, maybe they will only need half of the amount of money that they would have been making, because now they don't have to worry about getting to work or all these other things, and they can be saving, spending on other things. And then the rest of the money that, let's say, that business is making, or that person or that AI is making, can then be shared with the community, can be used by a country to social programs or education programs, or just to feed people or to build communities. So to me, I think if we can get people moving into changing their mindset and perception of AI and what the possibilities are, it'll be easier to actually create this reality. Because let's say there's 2 companies out there. There's a restaurant who is like fully owned by and run by AI, and there's a restaurant who's run by a mom and pop shop, right? It's our choice which restaurant we go and support. Now, if I go and support that AI restaurant, and I know that, okay, there's 2 options. That person that owns the restaurant is going to be putting all the money into his pocket, or there's the option where he's going to be using that money to actually help society. I would be inclined to go and support that restaurant if I knew he was giving back, and not just giving back like a little bit, like giving it all back. Right? Like, he replaced these jobs, he's got to give back that money to the community somehow. Whereas if there's like an AI restaurant that's just literally taking all the money and putting it in his pocket, I don't want to go there and I don't want to support it. And us as consumers, we really have to do this kind of research to be aware of where we're spending our dollars. And it's only by us spending our dollars on the companies that are using AI to replace people's jobs and salary, then, we're going to get to that reality of AI taking over. But if we are only supporting companies that are using AI to help benefit humanity, to help make the world a better place, then all these companies will need to shift to that ethos for them to even be a company anymore, or else they will go out of business. As consumers, like, we have so much power, and I think that is lost now in the everyday kind of spender, and in how much impact their decisions have, right? Your dollar is your vote. And if you talk to some people, you hear this a lot. It's, oh, I can't make a difference. So why would I try and change? And it's, if 8 billion people are saying that, then of course, nobody's going to be able to make a change. But if you start and your friend starts, and then 8 billion people are now saying, I can make a difference, then you will. So it starts there, is saying that I have the power, I can make a difference, and actually showing and doing it.
Yeah, that's really a good opinion about it. I share the same. Let's talk about your Twitter username, King of Blueberries.
Yeah.
For our listeners, Blueberries is an NFC collection affiliated to the JMX platform, and it is a username, if I remember well. You got this from the start of the collection.
So GMX actually had a trading competition. And in the trading competition, what they did is they gave the winner of the competition this blueberry. So the king of the blueberries was what I called it. And then they also gave an NFT to the biggest loser. So the person who made the most amount of money and the person who lost the most amount of money got these respective NFTs. So I actually ended up winning that competition, and that's how I won this blueberry. When they launched a collection after that, I also bought a handful of them, and I've been sitting on them because I could see that, first of all, I love the community. This is a super cool community. All the people here are awesome. So I love being a part of it. what GMX stands for and their ethos and what they're building is something I'm very passionate about. And I think that it's still such like a unique, innovative community. Like I want to hold these, for a long time and see what can we build together and what can actually come of it. I wasn't so much like trying to like buy up a lot. I know there are some people out there who have like hundreds of blueberries, but I think I'm happy with the handful that I have and the king of the blueberries.
I enjoyed is that you were already a blueberry enthusiast from the start, when it wasn't really known, even on Arbitrum. And today, for the DeFi enthusiasts, we can all see the impact the collection has. And that's really cool because it's thanks to the blueberry that we met.
Yeah.
Are you active in the community? Do you think one day you want to also, because you already built a project correlated to the JMX platform, do you also want to get active with the blueberry community too?
Yeah, I'm not so much active in like the Discord or in that regard. I have gone and I have communication with the guys who have been the founders and designing stuff. I've offered a lot of advice and input. Even there are some times where they're seeking a developer or something. I've offered my help, but then they've also found people. So I'm here for whatever they might need me for. When it comes to integration, we are going to be doing an airdrop of some EST&D tokens to all the Blueberry holders. As soon as our V2 is going to be ready, we're going to be ready to really handle the next big amount of eyes coming to our protocol. We're going to be airdropping some of the blueberries. We're going to be airdropping probably a lot of people who are participated in other big products and communities. So people that are using Aave or people using Compound or other big NFT collections, just to try and get more eyes onto our platform. But the first one, the most important one for me is blueberries, because they were the first community I told that I was building something cool. And so it was because of them and their support that we got off the ground running. And so to me, that is something I hold very closely, and I love them all for that and the support we got. And I made that promise to them. I'm not going to go back on that. I know it's been taking a little bit longer than expected, but it's coming. And I would definitely want to, with all the projects I'm working on, integrating them in somehow. And it really is like a really special community. Lots of people with just really good attitude, really good mindset. They understand the ethos behind crypto, not just the fact that you can make money. So it's very special.
It's really nice to see that blockchain really enhance the fact that we can network easily and we can build strong relationship with people from all over the world. It's been more than 1 hour that we talk now, and we can clearly conclude that you built many different projects from many different sectors. You touched to restaurants. You were not afraid to try new things. So I want to know, do you identify yourself as a money maker? You just want to profit from every opportunity you get, or you are just a curious person that wants to build in every sector that you are interested in?
I don't really see myself as a money maker. It's not what drives me. I don't make a lot of money by any means. I have like enough that just keeps me comfortable. But yeah, for me, what's really important is working on projects that I really am passionate about, and projects that really can change, make a change, have impact. And that's where my motivation is. And I know that for me, as long as I'm working on those kind of things and living in that kind of alignment, then money will always come. And I think I said already, I'm a very much a minimalist. When I travel, I have one small suitcase with some clothes in it, and my laptop in my backpack. And when it comes to food, like I'm okay just eating cereal and peanut butter all day and spending not a lot of money, finding the cheap places, cheap Airbnbs, or staying with a friend. And it's really fulfilling for me.
Yeah, that's cool. You did not talk a lot about your, let's say, your leadership career, because you're also a leadership teacher, let's say. And I want to know, how do people, for example, you don't talk about it also on Twitter. So how do people contact you about this topic, and how do you help them?
So that is something that I've wanted to become more social with on my platforms. What I've just been struggling with is actually putting in the energy and time to make these posts and reach out, because of just how much I've been working on other things. So I know that once a little bit of the work like calms down, I'll be able to put more effort into creating this kind of content. I do, like when I went to digital media design, I did build that knowledge of how to do video editing and all that kind of stuff. So it is something that I want to be doing. Right now, through my travels and all of the places that I go and I visit, I always end up meeting people that just have these messages that they need to hear, or have something they're struggling with offline, I'm constantly working with people and helping them and able to help them find their purpose and through astrology or whatever means. But yeah, it's something that I do want to be doing eventually through my social media platforms. But if anybody does find themselves in a place where they're struggling or they need some help or they want a little bit of guidance, my DMs are always open. Anybody who wants to message me is open to it. That is my true passion first and foremost before anything. I invite anybody to, if they want to reading. I don't charge. Usually what I ask for is donate a couple bucks to an animal sanctuary somewhere.
That's cool.
Because that's what I would be probably using that money for.
That's really cool. And you can see that you don't do that for money. Like you don't even advertise yourself about it. So that's really answer. And you once told me that you live only 6 months in the year in Canada and the other 6 months you travel. Is this still the case?
Yeah, I'm noticing that the amount in Canada is going less than less. But yeah, still been traveling around. I was just in Mexico for a month. Right now I'm in Florida. I've been here for a couple of weeks. From here, I'm going back to Canada maybe for a month. And then from there, I'm going over to Europe. So I don't really know where that adventure is going to take me yet. I just get these invites and I go off and see what comes from it. So I'm pretty excited for that. It was a lot of just removing things from my life, to be honest. You know, a lot of people I talk to or they see me post, oh man, I wish I could live that life. And I'm like, you can. Like, why can't you? And the first question is, how much money are you making per month? And they tell me, I'm like, you're making more than me. Most of the time, these people are making more than me. So it's not a matter of financial reasons that they're not living their life, but some people have kids, and that's understandable. That is a whole different kind of life, right? But then most people who are just like stuck and they're living in this, it all comes out to mindset. They have this mindset where this is so far out of reach, so they're not working towards it as a possibility, right? For me, I knew, okay, as long as I'm making like $1,000 or $2,000 a month, I can live this lifestyle. So I then figured out, okay, how is it that I can make $1,000 or $2,000 a month from my laptop, be able to support this lifestyle? And that's what I wanted to do. When I sold the restaurant, I knew that this is what I wanted to be doing. And so I knew the restaurant was not going to provide me with the life that I wanted to because I had to be at the restaurant all day, every day. If I did go on a vacation, like it's just like everything went up in flames and it was like so chaotic and nobody was able to manage anything. And so it wasn't going to work. Quitting was the first decision that I made. And then I wouldn't see it as quitting. There's a little bit of, but it was just like realizing that wasn't an alignment. And so making the alignment is what I did.
What was your first trip when you took that decision?
I actually had a trip planned for Thailand, which would have been May of the first month of the pandemic. But then because of the pandemic, I was stuck. I couldn't fly anywhere or anything. And what I had done is I just using my Jeep, I bought a Jeep and I would just like kind of like travel throughout nature. Just me and my dog, we would just go places. And it was nice because I could go wherever I wanted to and whenever I wanted to. I didn't have to be held back by anything. But then the first trip out of the country was to LA. A friend of mine invited me to go watch a football game, actually. And I was like, okay, yeah, that sounds fun. I'll be coming next week. And so I went. And then when I got there, I just realized that there was so much more for me
to discover
out in like the rest of the world to discover. I was gone for about 8 months. I even went back to Canada. And then I was back home. After the travel, that's where I met all the people that I'm working with right now. And we started building these amazing products. So when I went back to Canada, it was more of that was the work time, right? So I really like just put myself in the chair for about 6 months. And I was really like working hard every day, all day, got as much work as I could do done. And then from there, once everything was comfortable, I started traveling again. And now I have a little bit better balance, like when I'm traveling, of being able to enjoy the places that I'm at, meet new people, do a little bit of my service, and then as well enjoy working on what I'm working on.
Except for people who have kids, as you said, do you think it's mandatory today in 2023 to move, or at least to take a few years in your life to discover the world, to be open to the world?
I wouldn't say that it's mandatory, but it is an amazing experience and one that you can really learn from. And so I would definitely recommend it to everybody to at least know what it's like to leave your comfort zone go to a country where you don't know anybody and barely know the language and just learn a new language, try some new experiences, learn about their culture, and just really know what you have back home and what you're potentially taking for granted. There's just so much to learn from all these other countries, all these other people all around the world. And like you go, when I'm in Mexico, like minimum wage there, I think somebody was telling me is like a couple $100 a month, right? And you would think like these people making a couple $100 a month are so miserable or so depressed or like they're struggling, but you go there and these people are like the happiest people, and they make it work with what they have. And their house, there's 10 or 20 people living in this home, but to them, that's how they want it to be, because then every day they can eat dinner with all their friends or family, and then they're always together. They always have people around. When they're working, everybody goes to work and everybody does their thing, and they come back and nobody's going hungry. Like barring like the bigger cities, like Mexico City is a little bit different. But if you're going to some of the towns, like some of the smaller villages, going to where these people actually live, they're actually really happy. And so it shows you a different perspective of, okay, like as long as I have food and I have a place to live and I have my friends around or people that I love or care about around, I don't need even a car. I don't need to have all these fancy things. Like, why do I need a fancy watch, or why do I need all these things? And the reason that we are buying all of these things is to try and pretend that we are somebody or trying to show off in some kind of way. So it all is very much like an ego thing. And so those are the lessons that I've really been able to gather from traveling a lot. And so definitely something I recommend, but I understand it's not something that everybody has the luxury for.
You need to go outside of your comfort zone in order to grow in life. And it can be represented during travels, for example. But do you agree with that?
Oh, yeah. Like we all get complacent in a way when we have this like routine and this structure we get very comfortable in. And then the problem is if something happens that's out of your control that shakes that up, people don't understand or don't know what to do, or they don't know how to react, and it causes like a big commotion, right? Kind of like the pandemic is like a good example of that. Everybody got so used to the way that they were living. Something came and shook everything up, and then it was just mass panic, mass hysteria. Nobody knew what to do. And that's why we need to be able to be adaptive. And so if you're constantly living in your comfort zone, you're not able to evolve, you're not able to adapt, you're not able to take on new situations. And so I think it's a skill in itself, and it is a very important one. And we definitely need to challenge ourselves and go out of that comfort zone.
Yeah, that's true. Now I need you to take a look in your past and tell us what has been the project that you are the most proud of.
Ooh, the most proud of. I think so the real question is like how we would measure. I know that another question that you had on the list was like, how do you measure success or something of like that of the sort,
but
right?
You can answer too.
And so for me to answer this question, it's what did my entrepreneurial journey or what did the entrepreneurial project teach me? That's how I would measure the success of this project. Because every single other project I work on has failed in a way, if you want to use that word. They're not in business anymore. They all ended in the same place, but through all of them, I happened to learn a lot of lessons from them. The restaurant taught me so much about how to just be a person, how to communicate with people, how to be respectful, how to be hospitable, how to be all these like really, really strong core values that I was able to learn when it comes to actually interacting with other people, right? And so to me, like that is probably something that I'm very grateful for.
Okay.
Having that experience to be able to live that lifestyle that not a lot of people get to the chance to experience that. But then every other experience that I've had, I've also been very grateful for because it's taught me really amazing lessons, or it's connected me with really amazing people. And it also makes for really good stories in how to help people with their businesses and how to help them grow and being able to kind of lead them or be their mentor through their process. That's how I would answer that question.
I think your process of seeing life is really inspiring for everyone because you don't take anything for granted and you do a lot of gratitude to the universe about everything you get. And even if you deserved it and you worked for it.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's really a nice approach. If you still look 5 years back from now, what is the advice that comes to you that you would give to the band in 2018?
Yeah, I think the biggest piece of advice was or would be to just be more present and enjoy or just pay attention to what you have around you. Because back then I was still very much in this escaping kind of mentality. A lot of people get into like when they're depressed or they're anxious, they look for ways to escape and deal with the pain, whether it's alcohol, whether it's video games, whether it's any other kind of thing. My advice would definitely have been try to be more present. Look at the moment, just breathe. What do you have around you? Who is around you? Appreciate, be more grateful, be more thankful. Everything is not a race. Everything is a journey. And so when I wasn't present, what I was doing is I was focusing so much on the future. And I was thinking, okay, this is what I want to accomplish. This is what I want to be. This is what I want to do, right? But I was so focused on those goals, desires, outcomes that I was forgetting to actually live in the moment. And that was the cause of all of my stress, all of my anxiety, all my depression, because I always thought that I never had everything that I wanted, right? But then at one point, like I got those things that I thought I wanted, like with the restaurant, I wanted to be a restaurant owner again, but it was like, oh no, that's not what I wanted. And another piece of advice, like how I've been able to shift from that, like always focusing on goals and future and all these things, I've turned the desires for achieving all these things into aspirations. Instead of saying, I want to, let's say, own a Lamborghini one day, you would change that perspective to, oh, it would be cool if I owned a Lamborghini one day. And so then what you're able to do is you're able to focus on the path, like this journey. What is my next step? What's my next step? What's my next step?
Yeah.
What's my next step? You break it down into little breaths. You break it down into heartbeats. You break it down into breaths, right? And then one day you're just like, you've gone so far along this path. You know, you look back and like, wow, this is awesome. Like, how did I get here? And if you have the Lamborghini, you have it. If you don't, it's cool because you enjoyed every single step that you've taken along this path, right? And they're no longer focused on this thing that's external, that this thing is far in the future that you have to achieve it or not, but you've now like still had that like there as like maybe a little bit of motivation, but you've been able to be fully present, walk the path and enjoy every moment of it.
You said before that the fact that you can help people, you can support them, it make you proud. You already achieved a lot till now. You already helped a lot of people. So do you think that you are already successful? What does it mean to you to be successful?
Yeah, I think so. For me, how I would define success would be comparing who I was yesterday to who I am today. And so did I do more or did I do as much as I could yesterday to help myself, humanity, people, animals, or everything? Or am I going in the opposite direction? And so for me, as long as I'm looking at myself every day and I'm able to do more, or I've been doing more, or I have been doing as much as I can, I think that's my way of measuring success. With all of that being said, like I do think that I've been successful because I've been able to constantly throughout my life grow and become a better person and do more and help more people. And also with that, learning that I have to take care of myself so that I can take care of others.
Exactly.
I don't like to use like money, or I don't like to use, even like when I'm helping somebody, I try not to focus on whether or not they get, or they like, let's say I'm trying to help somebody accomplish something. I don't focus on whether or not they actually achieve that or get to that point. I focus on the fact that I did what I could to help them in the best way that I knew how to, right? Because then if I start, let's say you give somebody advice, and when you're giving some advice, you're just giving them some insight. They might take it, they might not, right? But if you get attached to the fact that I gave you this advice, that means I wanted you to do this, then that's not really advice. That's trying to control or manipulate or force somebody. And then what you've done is now you've also attached your mind, your well-being to somebody else's outcome of whether they achieve this or not. So I try to make all of when I think of success, I focus on it internally. I don't bring it externally at all. And as long as I know that I'm doing my best, I'm helping as much people as I possibly can be, I'm trying to build something better for humanity. That's how I feel like I've become successful and how I find my fulfillment.
And even though you are successful, we can still interpret some of your experiences as failures. For example, the fact that you dropped out twice, also the restaurant that you quit. And what is your definitions of failures then?
I have a different definition. So the actual definition of failure is when you don't accomplish something, I think, or something like
Yeah.
that, right? And so in that respect, like I've failed so many times, so many ideas I've tried to want to build, so many things that I thought were amazing ideas just didn't work, or I lost a lot of money here, or I trusted this person to help me with this business idea and then they just stole my money or something like that. I think that is everywhere and you cannot avoid that. But the real failure comes from not learning the lesson in those situations. So you're going to fail in the sense that you're going to lose money. Things aren't going to work out. You're going to go broke. You're going to break up with your girlfriend. You're going to be encountering all these problems. All these challenges and hardships are going to come. And they can be very discouraging. And a lot of them are. And a lot of them do break a lot of people. But I think these are very crucial to our development as people. And so how I would define failure is by not being able to see these as lessons and learning from them. And like the definition of insanity, I like to talk about this one, is one person doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. To me, that is that failure mindset. Is you're convinced that you have this, like, in as much ego as you believe that you don't have, that doing this the same way over and over again is going to lead to a different result. If something in your life isn't going the way that you want it to go, you have to change something.
Yeah.
And so that's the thing that people struggle with the most, I think, is seeing what the loop they're stuck in is, what is the lesson they haven't learned, and trying to break free from that pattern.
I think that goes along with what you just said before, because if you just continue to do the same thing again and again without even considering why you are failing at it, it's because you don't take a breath, you don't take a break to analyze your surrounding and why you don't succeed in what you want to do. That's really interesting. Do you think there is a correlation between your personal life, your personal mindset, and the outcome that you get in your project?
Yeah, I 100%. I think, like we were saying before, like whatever you have in your mind and whatever you're thinking about eventually becomes your reality. And the way that you see things is based on how you are feeling. I don't know if I can give a good example, or let me try and explain this, but if...
You can take your time.
Yeah, I think that the answer there is yes and no. Some of the failures did come from experience. So with inexperience comes, okay, I thought this thing might have taken me 2 months, but in actuality, it took 4 months. And so because I was unable to properly define what the scope of something would be, that's led to some failure. Or sometimes you fail because you fail to see the risks that are involved with something. So you think something is so perfect, but then you don't think about the whole picture and you don't realize, oh, like this could go wrong, and then crash and burn everything. And these are the reasons that we fail. But through all of my experiences, I've been able to sit with the things after they go wrong and be like, okay, why did it go wrong? And at what point? And what can I take from this that I can then apply to the next thing? And so with that being said, like, I do believe that mood and perception of these things is going to be 100% what shapes you, because if I was to get depressed and just go drinking and try and forget about all the bad things that happened when I failed, but failed to see that it was because of something I did, it was my responsibility to make this succeed. And if it doesn't succeed, that means it's my fault. And so taking responsibility to be able to take ownership over what has happened and realize that this happened because of me. So what did I do? How can I do, something different next time? Or what can I do what can I do better next time? Can I then learn from those and apply them? So if you have a really bad mindset when you're making these mistakes or these failures, you're not going to learn from them and you're not going to be able to become successful.
We are going to the end of this interview, and I think that your personal experiences are really something that a lot of people need to listen to, because your approach to life, it's quite interesting. Maybe you failed a lot, maybe you got some bad experiences, but you're still open to new things, you're still curious to discover new sectors, new countries, and I think you found really quick your life mission and why you wanted to continue to live first, and what gets you to wake up every morning and to want to live your life. So again, thank you for being here and to share your experiences with us. And as a tradition, can you suggest someone to interview next?
Yeah, I definitely can. I want to introduce you to my friend Alex. I'm working with him on this really amazing project. He just brought me in very recently to head their tokenomics, and the project is called Wise. I don't want to spoil too much, but I can introduce
No
you to
problem.
Alex and set up
Yeah,
a chat with you guys. And
that
I'd
would
love
be a pleasure. And I'll let you close this
yeah,
interview by giving one last sentence to the audience.
one last sentence. I think one of the most valuable lessons came from a book I read called The Four Agreements. And if you guys haven't read this book, I would at least research what these agreements are and get like a summary. But the Four Agreements, my favorite one of those is try your best. And I think that's what we all have to just focus on. We're not going to be doing things perfectly, but we are perfect, right? And so all that matters is that with every situation, with every scenario that you find yourself in, try your best, do your best, use all the knowledge that you have to make what you think is the best decision, and try not to hold too much guilt or regret on these decisions. If they don't go the way that you want them to go, just loop back and be like, okay, clearly that decision didn't take me where I wanted to go. Well, I need to make a different one next time. When you get back to that place, make a different decision, and it might go well, it might not. But just understand that you're here trying to have an experience and you're trying to grow, and just try your best.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you for sharing your perception of life with us. And I'm really glad to do this interview with you. And really thank you.
Yeah, and thank you for having me. It's always a pleasure when you're getting to speak. Hopefully, if we can affect one person, this was a success for me. And I look forward to introducing you to Alex and maybe having another chat with you down the road somewhere. Take care.
To stay up to date with our latest episodes, follow us on the streaming platforms and our social networks in the description.